Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Andrew Campbell, and I'm a project manager for a small and medium business tech apprenticeship project in North and South Carolina. We're so excited to have all of you here today to talk about building the Carolinas tech future through apprenticeships. Before we kick off with our program, it's my job to cover some housekeeping. This event is being recorded, and the recording will be posted online on our event page afterwards. We've also enabled closed captioning, and you can adjust the caption settings in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. You can also find speaker biographies and related materials on our event page that was just linked in the chat. All participants are muted during the webinar, but we welcome you to type your questions and comments into the Q&A box at any time, and we'll do our best to answer verbally or directly in the Q&A box. We will also be having a survey at the end of the webinar, and we'd be especially grateful if you can take 1 to 2 minutes at the end of the event to complete that survey. Feedback really does help us plan and make our events more engaging. And finally, you can also engage with us online and on social media by tagging us with the hashtag #LiveAtUrban. Okay. Now that logistics are out of the way, we can dive into why we are here. We are both celebrating 2 years of work supporting small and medium-sized businesses in North and South Carolina, and we're looking ahead to our 3rd and final year of this project and the impact that we want to have. So over the course of the next hour, you're going to learn more about the grant resources and technical assistance that Urban has available to support new and existing apprenticeship programs. You'll get a chance to hear from 2 employers that have worked with Urban under this project to develop and expand their apprenticeship programs. And we'll have an opportunity for audience Q&A so that you can all ask your questions of all of our speakers. But before we go any further, I want to take a moment to recognize our partnership with ApprenticeshipNC and Apprenticeship Carolina. We are co-hosting this event with both organizations, and we could not be as effective in our work as an intermediary or as a TA provider without a close working relationship and additional support from our state partners. So at this time, I would like to welcome Chris Harrington, State Director of ApprenticeshipNC, and Amanda Richardson, Vice President of Apprenticeship Carolina, to share some welcome remarks. Over to you, Chris.
Good morning and welcome, especially to any North Carolina participants. Glad to have you with us this morning, and also want to thank Urban for putting this together, and frankly for the support that they've provided to employers and sponsors in North Carolina. For those that are less familiar with apprenticeship, in the U.S., apprenticeship is governed by the U.S. Department of Labor. But about 70% of the states have what's referred to as a state apprenticeship agency. And ApprenticeshipNC is the agency for North Carolina, which is where we differ from our colleagues to the south. ApprenticeshipNC is the sanctioned agency, and our responsibility is in addition to promoting apprenticeship, it's to register and ensure the quality standards set out in statutes and local policy. We're currently housed under the community college system, which is, I think, another area where we're somewhat similar to South Carolina. So we've been housed there for about 5 years, but our mandate is broader than just the community college system. For those that are less familiar, apprenticeship is a rigorous training approach that's been found to have a strong return on investment for employers, for state and federal funding, and perhaps more important, it's proven to be a very good for the participants because of accelerated earnings. The average apprenticeship, depending on the industry, the average apprentice is going to earn about $10,000 more than a non-apprentice doing the same occupation once they complete. So that translates to over $300,000 more over the course of their career. In North Carolina, we've got about 12,000 active apprentices. In the IT space, or the tech space, we've got currently 49 active employers with 424 registered apprenticeship apprentices and 22 registered pre-apprentices. Now, these are not just in your typical tech fields. Participating employers are in public sector, manufacturing, energy, and defense, in addition to information systems. To date, North Carolina has completed over 800 registered apprenticeships and over 200 pre-apprenticeships with 69 employers. So a little bit of background about North Carolina, and I'll turn it over to Amanda.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and on behalf of Apprenticeship Carolina, welcome. We are pleased to be partnering with our peers to the north, as well as the Urban Institute on today's webinar. Apprenticeship Carolina is housed within the technical college system in South Carolina, and our staff of 18 works to promote registered youth and adult apprenticeships across the state, as well as certified pre-apprenticeships. We work with employers across the state to develop, maintain, and maximize use of these programs. We partner closely with the U.S. Department of Labor, as well as others in this space, like the Urban Institute, so that together we can leverage our resources to move apprenticeship forward. We all realize that we are much more effective together than trying to do this work alone. In talking about tech-specific apprenticeships, we currently have 85 tech-specific occupations registered across the state among 62 different employer sponsors. But we realize, obviously, that we have lots of opportunity to grow here. So again, thank you for taking the time to be here today and for investing in your current and future workforce.
Thank you, Amanda and Chris, for the information and being wonderful collaborators with Urban Institute. We could not do this work, as both of you have said, and Andrew has reiterated, we could not do this work within the Carolinas without this partnership. So really appreciate you being with us today. My name is Bhavani Arabandi. I'm a Principal Research Associate at Urban Institute, and I'm also a co-director of the apprenticeship program at Urban Institute with my co-director, Zach Boren, who could not be here today. Just a little bit background about Urban Institute. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan research organization that brings evidence to advance upward mobility and equity. Our work on workforce development and apprenticeship centers around supporting businesses and workers into meeting today's challenges while preparing future talent. We also contribute to the expansion of apprenticeships and modernization of the system in the US through research, development of national occupational standards, and building tools such as the National Library of Apprenticeship Programs, and provide advice to companies on using apprenticeship to support their needs. All this to say, we really partner really well with North Carolina and South Carolina, Chris and Amanda's offices, to get you supported with apprenticeship programs as soon as possible. And we are very excited today to share how tech apprenticeships can help small and medium businesses grow and boost local jobs in North and South Carolina. A very brief overview about what is registered apprenticeship. It is an earn and learn model that consists of 5 key components. It's a paid job. Apprentices are employees from the beginning and receive a wage that progressively increases as they gain experience. It has on-the-job learning, where apprentices gain practical experience focused on specific competencies in the occupation. Apprentices also gain an understanding of the occupation and skills needed from classroom instruction. And absolutely key is the mentoring aspect of it. Apprentices are provided guidance and advice on the job by an experienced professional to teach the occupation, the company's business practices, company culture, employment skills, and other knowledge required to become proficient in the occupation. At the end of the apprenticeship, apprentices receive a national credential, which is portable and can be used, to go to other jobs, but also hopefully stay in the very job in the very company that they were trained in. Well, how can apprenticeship support the businesses, support the needs of businesses, especially in talent development and things? In a 2022 urban study, employers reported an improved pipeline of skilled workers as the most beneficial indirect benefit of apprenticeship. The national average return on investment for a business taking on an apprenticeship is $1.44, which basically means for every dollar a company invests in apprenticeship, they receive $1.44 back. Apprentices also trained by businesses were more likely to stay with businesses. The retention rates were really high, and businesses with a registered apprenticeship report a 90% apprentice retention rate. In terms of productivity, in the first year after the registered apprenticeships have been established, registered apprenticeships have an advantage of $2,113 in average direct productivity benefit. And a little bit about our project itself. We are funded by google.org with $2 million. It's a 3-year project to create, expand, and maintain registered apprenticeship programs with small and medium businesses for tech roles, specifically in North and South Carolina. You heard from Amanda and Chris that the states themselves support a lot of different occupations, but for our project, we are focused on tech apprenticeships. Urban aims to place at least 200 apprentices in upwardly mobile tech careers in 3 years. And to date, we have served over 160 apprentices in their tech careers and provided technical assistance to establish 6 new programs. Since 2023, we have awarded over $345,000 to small and medium businesses in terms of incentives. What do we mean by small and medium-sized businesses? These are companies that have 500 or fewer employees. They also we also want to establish or new IT apprenticeship programs for those that already have apprenticeship programs in tech-related roles, but want to expand to new cohorts. We are happy to support both of them. What would Urban Institute be able to help you with in terms of establishing a program? We can walk you through, creating a work process schedule, creating an occupational framework, connecting with related instruction, all of this in close collaboration with North and South Carolina states. That is the technical aspect of it. We can also provide Google online certifications that take care of the related technical certifications. And we provide incentive funding. So far, as I've said in the previous slide, we've expended about $345,000 in incentive funding. We have about $200,000 left. And this is a first come, first serve, but we want to make sure that it goes to the companies that are absolutely in need. So we're happy to talk with you about it. Please connect with us. In terms of the actual funding availability, we have about $4,000 per apprentice for 1 year from the date of program registration, up to $4,000, I should say. And then for existing programs, we can provide up to $1,000 per apprentice in existing tech apprenticeship program. Again, our program ends at the end of 2025. So this will have to be within that time period. We also support occupations in several tech roles, such as IT generalist, UX designer, data analyst, database technician, and several others. What this means is that you do not have to be a tech organization or a tech-based organization to get this funding. Any company, any small and medium business that has a tech role is applicable to receive funding, that wants to do an apprenticeship program is applicable to apply for our funding and receive it. So I'm going to stop there and turn this over to Andrew and to continue with talking to our panel about some of the information that they can provide in terms of working with us. But just before I hand it over, I want to say, this is a QR code. We will post this again later on. If you want to connect with us, please fill out this interest form. Over to you, Andrew.
Great. Thanks so much, Bhavani. And yes, please do use that QR code, or you can just find us online. We'll post a link to our project page in the chat. But for now, I would like to welcome Ashley Felton, Chief Executive Officer and founder of Technically IT, and Dan Rearick, Co-Executive Director and co-founder of Code the Dream, onto the screen for a conversation about their apprenticeship programs. Welcome, Ashley and Dan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to start us off by asking each of you to tell us a little bit more about your respective organizations and how your apprenticeship programs contribute to your organization's success. And Dan, I'd love to start with you.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Code the Dream. At Code the Dream, we're a growing nonprofit based here in North Carolina. We have about 80 full-time folks right now, all focused on broadening access to opportunity. We are really aimed at trying to provide the same access to opportunity that folks have if they go to a four-year university, study computer science, give them that level of access of opportunity, and do that by providing them that level of training. So we aim to do that by providing free intensive training and real-world software development experience through a unique model that's been really popular with both employers and apprentices. Just to give you an idea, we currently have about 2,000 applicants each year. So Code the Dream starts with 12 months of free classes with individualized mentorship. And from there, successful students can apply to a year-long full-time software development apprenticeship. And since we sit in this kind of unique role as a nonprofit seeking to advance access to opportunity, we have a dual perspective on the ways in which apprenticeship is really at the heart of our work. Internally, for ourselves, it is definitely the main way by which we grow our own internal engineering teams. We're consistently incredibly impressed by our apprentices' talent, their work ethic, their creativity. I actually just had a couple months ago, I had a chance to go to a national conference at Georgetown University that included an open challenge to develop new custom AI technologies that better met certain federal and state government needs. And in these particular use cases, the top off-the-shelf models like ChatGPT or Gemini were only hitting 30% accuracy. But our team was able to develop models that improve that accuracy to 90%, which meant they came away from this demo with multiple awards. And it was just amazing to see our team there more than holding its own next to teams of data scientists from academia and the private sector. Because our team, we did have senior engineers on our team, but it was truly a couple of the apprentices who really led that work. And that was just amazing for them and for us. So that's an example of apprentices working on projects that we kind of own internally. But we also offer a type of managed apprenticeship program that we provide to other tech employers that gives us a chance to see firsthand how apprentices benefit their work as well. In that model, we at Code the Dream manage the apprenticeship. We take care of some of the main kind of pain points that some employers find with apprenticeship, the logistics of setting up an apprenticeship initially, the recruiting and vetting apprentices. As I mentioned, we get a couple thousand applicants each year, and much of the oversight and mentorship of the apprentices' day-to-day work, which is really our bread and butter. So one of the first companies that took us up on that model was SAS. And last year we provided them with 10 apprentices. And after seeing their work and getting to see firsthand what they contributed to their company, they chose to convert all 10 to permanent hires and then immediately re-upped for another 10 this year. So that was just incredible to see, a great vote of confidence. And for us, coming back to our mission of broadening access to opportunity, it's just a great win-win for employer partners as well as the apprentices who are launching their career.
Awesome. That's amazing. Well, I have lots of follow-up questions to dig into some of those details, but first I want to pass the mic back over to Ashley to tell us a little bit about your program as a small business.
All right, thank you, Andrew. And hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Felton, and I am the CEO of Technically IT. We are a full-service IT firm and a managed service provider, providing IT solutions to NGOs, small businesses, and educational institutions. Our apprenticeship program has been a key contributor to our success. We didn't start this program to just fill roles within our company. We launched it because we recognize a significant skills gap of tech workers in our community. Through our apprenticeship program, we were able to groom apprentices for critical roles in IT support, network management, and also cybersecurity. So this approach not only helps us build a skilled and loyal workforce, but it also ensures that we are continuously evolving the members in our community with those digital competencies, ultimately providing benefits both to our business and the community, and also empowering the next generation of IT professionals to help contribute growth to our company and others.
That's wonderful. You both mentioned, really creating opportunities for folks. Can you speak about maybe any of the apprentices that you encountered that maybe didn't know about this pathway and maybe didn't expect to see themselves in a tech career before this apprenticeship and what their experience has been like? I don't know, Ashley, if you want to start, or Dan, I just recognize that you're both in it for a lot of the same reasons. So
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and follow up. And what we've seen in my area is the interest for gaining knowledge in those digital competencies, gaining an opportunity to learn more about technology. And so them coming, to us to ask about the apprenticeship program allows us to take others from little to no tech experience or technology to becoming experts.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we see in our program, we see folks for whom the apprenticeship experience with Code the Dream feels like a capstone or a bridge to a path that they were already on. And then we see other folks for whom they had a friend who had a great experience with it and told them about it, and it wasn't anywhere on their radar. So we have people who, for instance, go from, they were waiting tables, maybe they were had a background sort of general interest in technology, but had never touched anything related to technology. And then a couple of years later, they're making $90,000, $100,000 a year. The average salary of folks who finish our apprenticeship is $85,000, but folks with some of the bigger employers hit 120, 130 starting off. So it is definitely absolutely life-changing, and it's just incredible, like, to see folks on that journey. I should say though that again, those folks for whom it feels like something like a total breath of fresh air, totally out of the blue, that is a substantial set of people. But there are also folks that that come to us from our great technical college system, the community college system, who they've been on this path for a while, and for them, this is just a bridge to maybe they take one additional free class with Code the Dream, or maybe they're already ready just from the community college training, and they go straight into an apprenticeship. And this is just the capstone or the bridge that allows them to really launch their career.
Yeah, that's awesome. There is a saying that you can't have an apprenticeship without an employer that needs talent. And I think, it struck me that Dan, you talked about some of those partners that have re-upped. And I was just curious, I guess, what have some of those conversations to get employers bought into this idea of utilizing an apprenticeship program, especially those managed apprenticeship programs, and how many apprentices that complete a program with those employers actually get hired on by those companies?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I really believe that it is a win-win, and the employers who've already worked with us know that. Now, in terms of like how do we talk about it to employers who haven't tried it yet? I think there's at least 3 really important benefits to the employers. First, it just dramatically increases your pool of possible workers, especially in the field of we're talking software development, software engineering. Allowing you to choose from everyone with the talent and drive to contribute to your teams, rather than just those who maybe somewhat arbitrarily chose to major in comp sci back when they were 18 or 19 years old. So that's a huge part of it. I mean, our community, there's a whole host of research on why comp sci programs are the way they are, but our community also happens to be far more diverse than the average comp sci program. For reasons we don't really know, it's over 50% women, for example, which you don't see at any comp sci program, as far as I know. So I think that is just another kind of additional benefit. Just having really, I think hiring, a lot of employers come to see hiring just from traditional paths as kind of fighting with one hand tied behind their back, just not getting to engage with the full community of talent. Secondly, the apprenticeship process means they're gaining real world experience, and this is often so much more valuable than any classroom training. We've also worked with Cisco over time, and one project that our apprentices worked on with them was on a solution that was being shipped out to hundreds of thousands of enterprise users worldwide. And this work was being supervised by a senior engineer who'd overseen the work of hundreds of junior engineers over the years. And he came back to us and told us that the apprentices he worked with through Code the Dream were more capable and able to hit the ground running than most of the grads that they hire from top comp sci programs. So I think those are the big things. And then earlier we talked, I think Bhavani touched on the retention. That's another huge one. Apprenticeship is kind of the ultimate first step on a path towards upward mobility, and the opportunity for somebody to move up within a company and them knowing that that's possible has just been shown over and over again to lead to more loyalty and higher long-term retention, which is something that our employer partners tell us is an absolute game changer, because it's not just finding a talented new contributor for your team, but knowing that they're likely to stay with you for the long haul.
That's wonderful. Ashley, I see you nodding a lot. I know Dan's talking about the experience of some other employers, but it sounds like maybe you've shared some of these thoughts and experiences within your own company.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for asking that question, because when I first started my business, in the state of South Carolina, we have a small pool talent of tech professionals. So we all know each other. So from all the way up to Charleston, South Carolina, all the way down to North Augusta, Aiken, South Carolina. I've been in the business or been in the tech industry for 22 years before it was the hot thing to do. And so, all of the professionals in this space, we all know each other. So we know our value, we know our worth. And it was hard to bring on talent for my business when I started it, because like I said earlier, there were not any skilled talent in this area. And if there was, we were all well over making six figures. And so of course, as a small business, I am not able to afford a six-figure employer or employee. So I absolutely agree with that. And I'm so grateful for the apprenticeship program. Because again, the apprentices who do come to us, they are happy and excited to learn about IT, about cybersecurity, about, problem solving, gaining those soft skills. And what they're really excited about is the professional development opportunities here. So exactly, yes.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, I want to touch on a little bit, since we've worked with you both now, Ashley, we've worked with you since virtually the very beginning of our project. Could you just share a little bit about your experience accessing some of the resources that Bhavani talked about, including the funding or just the technical support?
Sure. Well, yes, me and Urban have been attached at the hip for 2 years already. And over the last 2 years, our engagement with Urban and their resources has literally been transformative for Technically IT. The support that we have received in areas like funding opportunities, registration assistance, and also access to Coursera classes has significantly enhanced the quality and the advancement of our apprenticeship program. So the urban team has been instrumental in helping us to navigate those complex processes of registering an apprentice with the state and federal agencies. So their guidance not only helped expedite our registration, but it also ensured that we were compliant, with those key requirements, positioning us as a training provider. In regards to securing funding, that has been one of the most impactful aspects of our collaboration. Urban has provided us with funding that has allowed us to expand our program and increase our apprenticeship stipends. And the financial support just has helped a small business and also us bring in more apprentices from underserved communities. The Coursera is absolutely a game changer. I'm even learning new processes that have changed through my apprentices. I just learned something new yesterday about Linux and PowerShell. And I've been using it for over 20 years, well, almost 20 years. And so with Coursera, they have been able to, just earn certifications in information technology. They've also learned about cloud computing, cybersecurity, and also project management. So they're able to boost their skills, saving us a ton of money in training costs. So we are definitely appreciative of this partnership, and we don't know where we would be without Urban, honestly.
Oh, it's too kind. I know that a lot of folks who are in apprenticeship programs and managing programs do say that related technical instruction can be one of the big barriers to getting started, and just like planning how you're going to find and utilize those resources. I know as well, folks online might be hearing you have access to these resources, but what hurdles do you have to jump through to get them, and how easy is it to access them? Ashley, Dan, could you comment on just like what the experience has been like uh, in terms of getting those resources? And yeah, I don't know, Dan, happy to start with you.
Yeah, I second everything Ashley said. I think Yeah, it's unique to have the experience, and this is especially true with Urban. I just want to shout out ApprenticeshipNC too, because they have an amazing team as well. But on both fronts, really just the like being proactive about providing that help, I think is amazing. Like not even having to ask, because there's certain we have a pretty big team that's focused on this, and there's still been multiple times where there were things we just didn't even know to ask. So yeah, it's been incredible just having easy access to that assistance and really having people guide us along what we should be asking.
Awesome. Ashley, have we tried to we've tried to make it smooth. Has it been smooth for your organization?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you get those partners that you never want to see until like the end of the year. After you've done, you know, whatever support that they have given you or you've given them. But I really enjoy every time I meet with Urban, Leslie and Zach, and also Bhavani and also you, Andrew. And just the team in general. You know, you guys have always made it easy for us, always, you know, questioning the obvious or the things that are not obvious, and just helping us to advance our apprenticeship program and providing the support, especially after Hurricane Helene. Urban really showed up for our apprentices when we had to take some downtime by providing support to our apprentices during that time. And I mean, even that in itself shows the heart of Urban Institute and the passion that you have for the advancement of our workforce.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, I know that we're gonna have to transition soon to audience Q&A. So this is also a plug for everyone who's listening to start typing in, adding your questions. But I just want to end, you know, Dan, Ashley, you both have successfully managed apprenticeship programs. And so for, you know, the audience that is out there, what advice would you give someone, an employer who's interested in starting an apprenticeship program? Dan, I can start with you, and then Ashley, I'd like to give you the last word.
Sure. I think my main piece of advice is what we were just talking about, which is don't try to do it alone. It's a great ecosystem of folks. There's so many people who have tons of experience and actually want to help you succeed, which is amazing to find. Whether it's just basic advice on the logistics or more substantive help on actually shaping your apprenticeship, we found that the teams at Urban and at ApprenticeshipNC have been absolutely amazing to work with. It's great to work with folks who both really know what they're talking about and are just so passionate about the benefits of apprenticeship that they're really invested in going the extra mile to see you succeed. I think if there are folks who are specifically interested in moving forward with apprenticeship in software development, engineering, or UI, UX and related field, our team at Code the Dream is also happy to help and share more about our managed apprenticeship model, where we take care of the kind of recruiting, logistics, and a good chunk of the training and mentorship. But for most people, I think my biggest advice would be just to not be shy about reaching out to Urban. They've been amazing.
Awesome, thank you. Ashley, you get the last word. What advice would you give to the folks listening on the line?
Well, definitely everything that Dan said, but you know, and I agree with everything that he said. So as a small business or, you know, any size business, my advice would be to align your program with your business goals. Okay. Identify the skills gap in your organization and design the program to fill those gaps. So ensure that, you know, you have the immediate support, you know, by also partnering with educational institutions, workforce development agencies, and employers as well. Leverage those partnerships for funding, mentoring, and also assisting with curriculum development. And lastly, I would say just engage with your local economic development initiative to align with those community needs as well. In South Carolina, the local economic development initiative is broadband access and digital equity. So, you know, the advancement of technology is happening for the state of South Carolina, which is usually medical, manufacturing, and military. So the advancement of digital skills is going to be necessary from here on out for the state of South Carolina. So, and also budget your apprenticeship wages as well. And measure your success with retention and making sure that, you know, your apprentices get completed and advance in the skills that you hire them for.
Absolutely. Yeah. Apprentices are real jobs. They are real employees. So that's a great note well, thank you both so much for your time and your experiences. I would love for you both to stay on the screen so that you can be here for any audience Q&A. And as we transition to our Q&A, I just want to ask Chris Hamilton from ApprenticeshipNC, Kirsten Pratt, the Associate Vice President from Apprenticeship Carolina, and my colleague Bhavani Arabandi to join us also on screen. Okay, so audience, I'm turning it over to you to take the lead. So please do keep adding questions to the Q&A box. All of us are ready and happy to take questions about anything that you heard today. If there's something that you want to learn more about, or just questions about getting support for an apprenticeship, please let us know. And I'm just pulling up the Q&A box, so I will go ahead and. All right, it looks like the first one might be most appropriate for Bhavani. Says digital navigator is a new career, yet many are needed. Would an apprenticeship for digital navigators qualify, I assume, for our project and funding?
Thanks for that question, Andrew. That's a great question. We'll have to know. We can work with you to get to know a little bit more about what the occupation entails, how it fits within the digital, occupational frameworks and everything. And we would be happy to work with you to build a work process schedule, a related technical instruction schedule, outline with you, and help you register the program as well. So please connect with us. I see Lindsay, my colleague, put in a link to our website for the interest form. So if Lindsay, if you can put that in the chat again for the audience, we will be able to connect with you. So please take a minute to fill out that form and we'd be happy to connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would just add that, as Bhavani mentioned in her presentation, we have a core set of occupations that we are initially focused on, but we are very thankful to our funders at google.org who give us a little bit of flexibility to, vet opportunities to support other digital and IT occupations as they come up. So if you ever have a question, it's always better to ask whether or not it would fit in and get support versus think that it is not applicable. And then, beyond our project, obviously our partners at ApprenticeshipNC and Apprenticeship Carolina have a much wider focus and are more than happy to help an apprenticeship in any occupation. And maybe just building on that, Kirsten, beyond our project, would just love for you to talk a bit more about how ApprenticeshipNC and Apprenticeship Carolina are structured to support employers that are interested in apprenticeship. Maybe Chris, I'll start with you.
Sure. So the biggest, I'll say, constant thing that North Carolina offers is for what we would refer to as youth apprenticeship. If a high school student is enrolled in a registered pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship before they graduate from high school, and subsequently are enrolled in an apprenticeship, a registered apprenticeship program within 120 days of high school graduation. The state waives their tuition for their community college coursework. So again, as was described earlier, every apprenticeship has to have some related technical instruction or supplemental education. Now, it doesn't have to be a degree, but it could be a degree. And so that's a big benefit to the individual, but it also mitigates a lot of risk for the employer, because typically the employers would pick up those costs. Now, in addition to that, there's some one-off funding that is occasionally available, but in full candor at the moment, all of the other grants that we have are oversubscribed. So, at this point, that's really the main incentive that employers could tap into. And I like to say that there's 120,000 reasons to be engaged with a youth apprenticeship program, and that's because there's 120,000 high school graduates in North Carolina every year.
I love that. Kirsten, yeah.
Yeah. So in South Carolina, we have team members that are all strategically located across the state that are very closely tied in with several different partners within the workforce development field, including our technical colleges. Just like Chris mentioned, the job-related education could be a degree, or it could be internal education, or it can be a lot of the free resources that are available through some of the Coursera and different pieces that the Google education that was talked about as well, or just anything that a company would find of value. So those individuals on our team will help really through the life of a program, everywhere from that initial thought and idea, like, hey, I think I want to do this, for either upskilling the current staff in any occupation, tech related or not, or hey, I want to use this as a way to take on someone who's a potentially good employee, but this doesn't have the skills yet, and push them through that from entry level all the way to 100% proficient. And so what our team will do, we'll work with a company to build out what that training looks like, similar to what Urban will do, but again, for all occupations. And then help with any connection points to partners that may help with recruitment. Or a lot of our technical colleges have right now several different grant funds and funding sources. So the state really supports registered apprenticeship through two main ways from a financial standpoint. And one is there are both federal grants we have as well as state funding to help offset the cost of any training and education through the technical colleges. And we do have a small bucket of money for those that may be working with third-party education providers, as well as the second way is through, we have recently increased our state tax credit. So any employer that has an apprentice that is in between the ages of 16 and 24 years of age, in high school or not in high school, would be able to have essentially up to $6,000 tax credit per apprentice. If that individual, an apprentice, is over the age of 24 years old, then it's up to $4,000. And we've really found in South Carolina, but also, of course, nationwide, that there is a return on investment, that people tend to stay with a company 3 years longer than someone who never went through an apprenticeship program. So we also have a retention tax credit of $1,000 per apprentice up to 3 years following their successful completion of an apprenticeship program.
That's wonderful. And yeah, thank you for sharing some of those details, Kirsten and Chris. I also love to mention that because our project is grant funded, our resources can blend and be braided with all of the resources from Apprenticeship Carolina and Apprenticeship NC. So while we're still able to offer them, you can double dip, and that just helps lower those barriers again to starting a program and help support you all, continuing to expand the program. Another question that I saw that I really like is, where do students get access to apprenticeship applications, or how do they find apprenticeship programs? Since you have to have both an employer and an individual who wants to do it. So Dan, Ashley, could you speak a little bit about how apprentices might find you, prospective individuals? Yeah, Dan, I'm happy to have you start.
Okay. Either way, yeah. I'm curious to hear what Ashley has to say, because I think this is the area where we're still learning. We only just hired basically an outreach person this year, and even with someone who's focused on reaching out to our potential apprentices, for us, this is probably not the most helpful, but it's the honest answer. The majority of people come to Code the Dream because they heard from somebody else who had already done the program, just what a great experience they had. So it's a lot of word of mouth. But we do have a lot of great people referred from their instructors in community college, other nonprofits that are working with folks who are just graduating from high school. It's a really big mix, but I'd love to hear what Ashley has to say. It might be more focused.
Well, no, we actually have the same problem. But like you said, well, first of all, I sit on the board of several academic institutions. So they do know that that I have an active apprenticeship program. Word of mouth does help. Because we are a small business, we are kind of taking the recruiting process a little, step by step. So right now we have only active, I believe, 5 or 6 apprentices, all working in the tech space, doing absolutely wonderful. We only have 1 completed since we started the program, because we do have a 2-year program. But in regards to recruiting, we have been given access to WorkHands, which we have found is a really good tool. Urban did advise us of that. It was either Urban or Apprenticeship Carolina, I'm not sure. But WorkHands is a really good tool. So when we do start to really, really ramp up recruitment next year, because we, of course, this apprenticeship program has allowed our business to grow. So next year we will be adding on more apprentices. So we plan to utilize either LinkedIn or WorkHands, and also the board and faculty at the different institutions that I'm partnered with.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know, Kirsten, Chris, this question always makes me think about the importance of partnerships with the education system in terms of finding potential apprentices and building awareness of the pathway that is apprenticeship. Is there ways that you can highlight the ways that you help get the word out for employers that work with you all?
Kristen, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, is this kind of get the word out as far as letting employers know about registered apprenticeship as a workforce development solution?
I think this is more targeted at getting the word out to potential apprentices.
For sure. Yeah, so one of the things that we do is really try to build our partnership network. We have a really great relationship with the Urban Leagues of South Carolina, as well as with, we call the SC Works, but it's the Department of Employment and Workforce, as well as there are a lot of different great organizations across the state, within rural areas and just different niches around specific industries, as well as, of course, the schools. So we are very closely aligned with a lot of the school districts, as well as the local technical colleges, because we're part of the South Carolina Technical College system. So with that, that's a way that we have, as Ashley mentioned, that WorkHands is our Apprenticeship Explorer to get that word out. We do a lot of great things promoting both apprenticeship graduations and apprenticeship signings, and we have a very active social media and a lot of different videos. We pay for a lot of different marketing across like TikTok and Instagram and such. So it is a combination of both working with partnerships, that word of mouth, as Dan mentioned, as well as the different platforms.
So in North Carolina, we do a lot of networking as well. One of the things that we've got probably 20 or 25 youth consortia. So this is, where you've got individual employers or sponsors working together with the K-12 system, with the community college system to promote apprenticeship in the high schools and in the community. So that's one approach. And then, if I'm honest, historically, we had taken the view that, well, we couldn't share employers' information that have programs, but we've kind of changed that this year, and we're updating our website. But I actually have found it interesting across the U.S. It's If you look for an apprenticeship program, it's kind of hard to find that matching employer and the occupations. So our aim is to address that as we update our website, which should be completed in the first quarter of this year. But in the meantime, we've at least posted on our website, a listing of employers with the occupations they have registered. Now it's up to the individual to kind of search through it and find an occupation and an employer that's near them. But we are working to address it because it has certainly been a pain point.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are an employer that is interested, Chris, Kirsten, all of us at Urban, we can help you try and find those individuals. I know we're running out of time and we have a lot of good questions in the Q&A, so we're going to work to answer any questions afterwards if we don't get to them. A couple that I'll run through quickly. What are the requirements to get free IT training and certification opportunities through Coursera's online learning platform? That is a benefit of working with us in our project. So as part of the Google grant, they have awarded us both funding that can go directly to support businesses, as well as free access to their Coursera as part of that related technical instruction package to lower barriers to operating an apprenticeship program. So if you work with us, reach out. We will be more than happy to help you get access to those Coursera resources. Another question I see is, are there any programs intended for rural areas? We could spend a whole lot of time talking about this, but we certainly want to support programs in rural communities. That is a big focus of our work, and we'd love to share more resources on our website. But I know that we are running at the very end of time, so for now, I would just like to say thank you very much to our speakers, to Kirsten, to Chris, to Ashley, to Dan, to Bhavani, to Amanda. We are so grateful for your partnership and for being here today. And I'd love to hand it over to Bhavani, who's going to close us out.
Thank you, Andrew. Really appreciate moderating the Q&A as well. But thank you so much to all of you for participating in our webinar and supporting apprenticeship work that you're already doing. And if you're interested in new programs, please connect with us. As Dan and Ashley have really shown us, apprenticeship is a talent development solution for a lot of businesses, and especially small and medium businesses that we work with. So please connect with us. And I just want to thank you for your participation today. Just a reminder that the event is recorded, and we will be sharing the recording with you shortly. And please take a minute to take a survey that will be posted in chat shortly. And really appreciate your time spending this morning with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.